Once again, I have accumulated far too many cars. I've run out of space, time, money, and credit, so some of them have to go. And this seems to happen to me once every year or two, and it's an amazing and wonderful consequence of making content, flipping cars, doing deals, and having a lot of fun. And so I'm very grateful to have all the cars that I have, but I do absolutely need to sell them. So the last video that I released was a garage tour with an update on all the cars that are here, because almost every one of them are here at the house. But I mentioned in that video that I'm going to be auctioning off 3 of them right now, no reserve, on an auction site called Sotheby's Motorsport. It's a brand new site that's backed by RM Sotheby's, and Motorsport Network, which includes DuPont Registry and Ferrari Chat, and it's all of them coming together to build an amazing marketplace experience. And so I've listed my GTC4 Lusso, the 2017 V12 shooting brake Ferrari that I've said is the greatest car that Ferrari has ever made. I do honestly believe that, and I am selling it honestly for one reason. It's just too good. The car is so fast, so comfortable, so useful, so reliable, so under warranty, free maintenance, all the things that you could ever dream about in a supercar. And I always find myself jumping in that rather than driving one of my miserable, uncomfortable, unreliable cars. And I love those cars and I want to drive them, and so I need to get it out of the way so that it stops being such a distraction. I'm also going to be selling the 6-wheeled Range Rover from Car Trek 10. It just came out of a stint in the California Auto Museum, so it got shipped back here from John Ficara's house, and it is ready to be sold. I gotta say, wherever I take the thing, it gets all the attention in the whole wide world. Obviously, it could be made better off-road if you make it 6-wheel drive. It could be made a little faster if you LS swap it. The opportunities are limitless, and I'm selling it no reserve. I have no idea what it's gonna be. It could be 30 grand or 130 grand. I hope it's on the higher end, but who knows? I own it for something in the middle, as we've talked about in Car Trek. The final car is the 1976 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow that Trevin Hermosillo from Sway and John Ficara of Ficara Classics and I just drove across the country in the US Express, a cannonball-styled event. The car has done amazing. I drove it to lunch today and yesterday. My kids love it. My wife tolerates it, even though it, leaks everything, and there's a few spots on the driveway. But it is a really, really wonderful car. Battle-proven over 4,500 miles, maybe 5,000 at this point, and I have really, really enjoyed it. I think all the leaks are within spec, and they certainly are preventing any further corrosion to the underside. It was single-family owned since 1979. But if you scroll over to Sotheby's Motorsport, you're going to find a lot more of my cars listed there. You will see the Diablo, the 1997 SV that I just imported from Japan, that we transformed at Glossit, and it is on there as a coming soon thing. To be quite honest, I'm not sure which of the 4 Lambos is going to have to go. One of them most certainly does. I can't afford to keep them all, and I don't have space to, or the time to drive them, and so somebody else is going to have to take one off my hands, but I don't know what that is yet, and I'm having too much fun with the Diablo to let it go right now. So one of those will be soon, but there are another 5 cars that I owned in the past, and each of these cars was either currently for sale or I knew that the seller was somewhat interested in moving them, and those are showing up now. Now, some of these may have reserves, but they are all amazing cars that I have loved, and so you might be bidding against me to get them back. And the first one is, well, I say they're all my favorites, but this one really is one of my favorite cars I've ever had. The Flood Gallardo from Car Trek 1. Honestly, the car that started the whole thing. We've now done 10 Car Treks, and we are planning to do some next year, even though we didn't manage to accomplish any Treks this year. The other 2 were a little bit distracted. But that one was the one that started it all. It now drives great. Sold it to Patrick Cupolari. He's had it up in New York, New Jersey, and has been driving it around, and the car is doing great, although the fuel gauge still doesn't work. Half is empty. We need to write that on there, but other than that, the car hasn't given him any issues, and it is ready to go. You'll also see one of the Sway Cayennes. So at this point, I've done 5 orange Cayennes. We had Car 21, which was the car for Car Trek 6. That was a $2,000, 200,000 mile 08 Cayenne S, so a 957. Then we started the project with Sway to build the ultimate Cayenne, and we built 22, 23, 24, and 25. Now, the one that's for sale is one of the cars that's owned by Sway, and so they have 3 of them. I've got 1, I have 23, they've got the rest, and this is the one that they're gonna sell. Now, 22, 23, and 24 are 2015 Cayenne turbos, but this one is a 2013 Cayenne GTS. And so a little bit of a different build, but still the roof rack, the great wheels. It It actually has the rotiforms on it, the same paint scheme, the same wrap livery, and an amazing car. It was owned by a very good friend of mine for most of its life. He did the transfer case, all the things that it would need, and it is ready to go. And so that one will be coming out of Montana. You'll also see 2 Scuds. I've had 2 of them, and both of them happen to be currently for sale. Now, the first one is the '09 Grigio Silverstone over red car. I've said that was the best car that I've ever owned. I drove it so many places, so many rallies, so many events, and it never let me down. I love that car so, so much. I wasn't driving it as much, and I felt a little bit guilty because it is such a perfect driver's car that if you don't take it out in a month, you start to think, I'm not really getting out of it exactly what it wants me to. And so I sold it about a year and a half ago, and it sold to a dealer, bounced around a little bit, and it ended up back here in Atlanta at Alfa Romeo of Marietta. They brought it by the other day. The car is looking great, driving great, and so they decided to list it alongside my cars as well. Now, the other Scud is the car that I took as a partial trade on the red Murcielago SV, which since has gone from sports car collection in Denver down to Houston Crosta and then sold to an end user in Utah. The car that I took on trade was a yellow '09 Scud, exceptionally nice car, obviously a lot tighter than mine that has more miles and stuff like that, so it drove really, really well. I only had the car for a few weeks because immediately following that transaction, I bought the Diablo, which it would take several months to get here, and then a very short time after that, I accidentally bought the blue LP640. I had to sell it to Ferrari of Long Island rather quickly. Chris Benvey from McGovern Auto Group helped me out with that. That's part of their dealer group, and so they've listed that car to come on as well. And so obviously it's worth more than the higher mileage gray car, but both are wonderful cars, and you wouldn't go wrong to own either of them. The last car is my roof. Now, we saw this car sell at the RM Amelia Island auction a couple of years ago, and it went to Grand Prix Motors in Portland. And I was really excited for them to have it. They are Porsche connoisseurs. If it's rare, low mile, paint to sample, anything, they love it. They've had a lot of roof cars, and the car hasn't sold yet. And so I called Val and I said, hey, would you like to list it as we're promoting all of these cars on Sotheby's Motorsport? And he was excited to do that. Now, of course, I've been very linked to that car because I did own it for quite some time. And I talked about the fact that when I owned it, it drove like absolute garbage. But the problem really wasn't the car. The problem was how poor I was. Now, I bought the car on Christmas Eve of 2015. I had been away from the dealership, totally unemployed for about a month, and it was a very irresponsible time for me to buy it. But it was a very good deal. I owned it for a little while. I ended up flipping the car, and the profit from that was the only money that I made in the first 2 years of leaving Motor Cars of Georgia. And the car went to Texas to Jonathan Peck, who ran the Roof Auto Center when it was a roof authorized dealer in Texas. He sold it once, sold it again, and then it went through the auction and it was purchased by Grand Prix. But in those next 2 owners, more than $100,000 was spent fully sorting the car out. So everybody that's driven it since then has told me that I'm out of my mind and that it's incredible. I'm gonna trust that they are correct, but it is now for sale again, and I'm sure it will make someone very, very happy. I will be honest, I tried to work out a deal to trade the Spiker back and get it because I kind of want to have the perfect roof experience. I do still love the cars, but anyway, we didn't make a deal, so now you can. So all 9 of these cars are going to be on Sotheby's Motorsport. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can check them all out. Mine are selling no reserves, so please bid early, bid often, and bid high, but whatever they bring is whatever they bring. I'd like to thank them for their support of helping us set all these up. Honestly, trying to get 9 cars loaded in, stocked in, whatever, listed on and live is a huge undertaking, and it's gonna be an awful lot of fun to watch. We'll watch over the next few days and see how the bidding goes. I'll post updates on Instagram and things like that, but please do check them out. And if you are one of the first 100 people to register as a bidder on Sotheby's Motorsports, I got some of the 7,000 license plates from our current sponsor, Travis Bell of Celebrity Machines. They make replica license plates, metal stamped to emulate the look of all your favorite star cars. There's many of them back here. If you have a Car Trek license plate, they made it. But I sent the Sotheby's Motorsports crew 100 autographed license plates. So if you just create an account, the first 100 of you will get a 7,000 Japanese license plate, like the one that my Diablo still wears, even though the DMV says I'm supposed to put the Tim tag on, but nobody needs that. It will soon have its Georgia pop-up license plate, which I was glad to have available. So check them out now at sotheby'smotorsport.com. Bid early, bid often. You might even be bidding against me on a couple of them, but I honestly, I'm just out of room, out of space and everything else. But I will be honest with you, I have never sold a car at auction. I've really never bought a car at a normal auction. I bought some cars through like Manheim auctions, wholesale auctions, through dealer friends and things like that. But I'm a little bit nervous because I have no idea how this is going to go. But it felt like the right way, a festive thing to do this holiday season. So I hope it's not too charitable of me, but I do appreciate the support. And I hope that you've enjoyed the cars and maybe one of them will continue its story in your garage.